Welcome back across Nevada to Face to Face. What happens when two super egos fight for supremacy of a casino town? That's the story behind the new book, The War at the Shore. Donald Trump, Steve Wynn, and the epic battle to save Atlantic City. Joining me to talk about it, the man who helped Steve Wynn fight that war and live to tell about it, businessman and author Skip Bronson. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thanks.
All right, I read the book. It has some great vignettes in it. Some of them are not fit for family television viewing. I urge people to read it. This is really, it's an unvarnished view of Steve Wynn in many ways, but in another way, you're kind of in awe of the guy, aren't you?
Well, look, I've been a friend of Steve's for many years. I served on his board, and I have great respect for him. This happened at a time when we were actually trying to develop a casino project in Connecticut. That didn't work out because of a corrupt governor who ultimately wound up going to prison. In 1995, Governor Christie Todd Whitman, the governor of New Jersey, tried to get Steve Wynn to come back to Atlantic City because, of course, he had the golden nugget in Atlantic City back in the late 70s.
In case people don't know the history back, New Jersey legalized it in '77. Wynn goes there, then gets frustrated and leaves after 10 years, and then he's coaxed to come back. In the book, you detail all of this, and you talk about the Connecticut and what happened there. You also talk about how you're blown away by Steve Wynn and his passion and breadth of knowledge. Let me show you what you write. My experience with casino executives was that they were excellent at marketing and promotions, but Steve was more than that. He was a true developer. If he had wanted to do shopping centers, his malls would be where you want to shop. If he'd wanted to build condominiums, we'd be lining up to live in them. It's interesting, Steve Wynn has always never thought of himself as a casino guy. He has thought of himself as a developer, and that really is who he is, isn't it?
He really is, and his attention to detail and his innovative thinking and the way he just absolutely wants to hear people say, wow, that's what really gets him going, to get people excited about what he does.
He had incredible disdain back in those days. I knew Steve Wynn back in those days. He had incredible disdain for Donald Trump, did he not?
Well, there were a couple of considerations. Number one, there was an executive that worked for Steve who wound up working for Donald.
Dennis Gomes you're referring to.
Correct, exactly, the late Dennis Gomes.
Right.
And that started it. Then we get to Atlantic City in 1995. We weren't looking for a war. We weren't looking for any type of battle. We went there to develop a casino resort. And in order to get it done, we had to create a roadway that would go from the Atlantic City Expressway out to this remote piece of property. The infamous tunnel. And Donald and Arthur Goldberg, who really was one of the more evil characters in this whole story.
He was the head of Bally's Hilton at one time.
Correct.
Go on.
They pulled every stunt and every trick and did everything they possibly could to try to keep us out. So here we have Steve Wynn, who wants to come in here, invest his capital, and you've got the guys on the other side. They're doing everything they can to stop him. Steve's always believed the more the merrier. In Las Vegas and other jurisdictions, he believes it's a positive to have more development, not a negative. So this was just totally foreign to the way he operates.
You give a lot of great detail in there. People should read it about what Trump and Goldberg actually tried to do with the government, how they tried to block him. What you also show, too, is that you invested all this time and a lot of the company's money in there, and several times it was this close to blowing up. And you describe these conversations with Steve Wynn, some of which you quote some of, but you admit you can't, because he is known for this volcanic temper, and he certainly has never had much patience for politicians, has he?
No. In those three words, shut it down, I heard them more than once. And, you know, he would become frustrated, exasperated, and he'd call me up and he'd say, let's get out of there, shut it down. And frankly, having Trump and Goldberg on the other side of this kept him in the game, because I would say to him, are you serious? You want to let them win? Or we're going to put our tails between our legs?
You appeal to his competitive instincts,
exactly,
is that what it was?
Exactly. It actually helped me.
And you describe it, Atlantic City is seen by people in Vegas, I think, as kind of seedy. You describe the actual government operations there as kind of seedy, don't you?
Well, look, you've got Atlantic City where several mayors right in a row wound up in prison. You've got a difficult situation, John, because the fact is the casinos employed more people than they said they would. They paid more taxes than they originally projected, and they drew more people than anyone could have imagined. The problem is that the state of New Jersey took the lion's share of that money back to Trenton and put it into the state coffers and never really fixed up that godforsaken place. So you had a scenario where you had billions of dollars being transacted on the boardwalk, and then 50 yards away, you had people living in squalor.
Yeah, that's the description I wrote. I have to admit, I've never been to Atlantic City, of course. I've never really wanted to go there, and reading this book doesn't make it any more appealing. We'll be back to talk more about Steve Wynn and Donald Trump with Skip Bronson. He was there at the War at the Shore. Stick around. What was it like between Steve Wynn and Donald Trump back in the day in Atlantic City? The War on the Shore. It's the name of a new book by Skip Bronson. It was Steve Wynn's right-hand man in Atlantic City in those days, and he joins me to talk about his book. There was this epitomizes, you have this great vignette in the book about the time that Steve Wynn went on Don Imus's radio show back in the day and to respond to Trump. And here's what he said. I can hear Steve Wynn's voice saying this. I don't think he likes me. I don't think that Donald likes me. I've tried so hard and it doesn't work, Steve said in mock disappointment as he feigned tears. He attacked Trump in an area where Donald was vulnerable, the financial state of his casinos. No one has ever equaled his record. 3 failures, 3 bankruptcies. No one's ever done that in the gaming business. While Trump had offered many noble reasons for his protests, Steve succinctly summed up Donald's true motivation. Maybe he doesn't want us to come to Atlantic City. And of course, that's what this book is really about, is how they tried to block that. I want you to explain this to me, though, these two guys. I mean, we were talking during the break. Trump's not a dumb guy. But now, I mean, he has gone off the rails, don't you think, a little bit now with this birther nonsense and some of the other stuff? I mean, did you see that coming?
You know, it's hard to predict what he's going to do. He is an unpredictable character, but he has a passion, and he is willing to speak his mind. He's not a shrinking violet. You're not going to find Donald Trump running away from something. And if he believes something, he believes it, and he stays with it.
But it's one thing to bluster about your business acumen and how great you are at development. It's quite another thing to question whether the President of the United States was born in America, appealing to some of the most disgusting things that are out there in this country. I mean, is that the kind of the guy that Donald Trump was back in those days?
Well, back in the day, we're talking about back in 1995 to 2000, right. I had very little contact with Donald Trump. Donald was back in Trump Tower. Steve Wynn was out here. And, you know, I have my team of people in Atlantic City. Donald had his group. His tactics, as I was saying, he will stop at nothing. He is outrageous, but he's very smart. He's cunning, and he will fight until the end. The good news is, with Steve and Donald, when it's over, it's over. They have this unique ability. Yeah, they have
it's a real friendship, isn't it? It's not fake.
No, it's not fake. And last weekend, Donald Trump and I played golf together when he was out in L.A. We're friends now, and they have that, again, that capacity to fight when they're in a fight. And when it's over, it's over. They're able to sort of walk away and move on.
We have about a minute left. I hope people do read the book. There's some great stuff in there, and it's a fun read. You're now involved in the digital. You're a big booster of online gaming. And do you really think it's ever going to happen with the House trying to block it, with Sheldon Adelson here having so much influence and saying no, no, no way?
I know that it's going to happen, but I believe that it will happen state by state, like lottery that started in 1964 in New Hampshire, and now we have 43 states with lotteries.
How does it work, though, to really get the, I mean, lottery's different. You can make a lottery work just with in-state participation. Online gaming, you need tons of customers, right?
Right. Liquidity is an issue in smaller states, but at U.S. Digital Gaming, our company, we have believed and continue to work on the fact that most of the big states have plenty of liquidity, and we think ultimately, just like Powerball or Megabucks, states will be able to link together so that smaller states will be able to work together.
Compacts, correct, just like that. All right. Mr. Bronson, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Good luck with the book. Thanks for making the time for us.
Thanks, John.
All right.